Third down and 20.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast. The whole gang is here, and as we're recording this, we are only 2 days away from NFL football. If everyone could do a pat and JT pat on the back, or I could go Lone Ranger, who cares? We made it. We got through all off season. We made it. 2 days away. Now, we're making a joke earlier because we also have started our 3rd and 20, our first annual 3rd and 20 Dynasty League. Thank you all for joining. I was making a joke in the 3rd and 20 league chat saying that Jake was picking so long that we were going to be drafting during our recording. And turns out that wasn't a joke. It's true. We are still wrapping up our 3rd and 20.
We still have 6 rounds to go. We have plenty of time left.
We're chugging along. But yeah, thank you all for joining. It should be fun. I hope we have more people around next year, more people interested in doing leagues with us. It's been cool interacting with different listeners in chat and whatnot. I don't know how you guys feel about your drafts. I like not love mine. I think mine's okay.
Same. I didn't like I got pick 8, so didn't have a quarterback that I wanted to take in the first round, so didn't like that, but going all right.
All right. So
I think that I easily have the best team. I think that you guys definitely didn't draft up to your potential.
Well, Jake's a fraud. Can we talk about one thing? One
Jake's
thing
a fraud.
What now? What now?
Jake has been getting attacked all weekend.
Yeah, we talked
I know.
about
I don't know.
episode.
I absolutely don't know why.
We've had debates on this episode about Tua Tagovailoa, what should you do with him? Is he still going to be good? Yada, yada, right? We get into the 4th round of our draft. Which Alabama quarterback's going to be the best? Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, Tua. Jake defends Tua. He goes to bat to Tua. We're in the 4th round.
I still will.
We're in the middle of the 4th round. Jake picks Mac Jones.
Welcome aboard the train. Welcome aboard the train.
Okay. Hear me out. I just have
train.
I'm still all aboard the Tua train.
Not enough, apparently.
I just have so many shares of Tua right now that I was just like, let's diversify a little bit. So
As much as I do want to hop on this, I do understand the diversifying thing because that was kind of also the same thing I had when I picked.
Jake's got half his body. He's hanging out of the Tua train right now. He's ready to leap.
I have him in 5 leagues. I'm definitely not hanging out.
I don't know. He's looking for a haystack to jump out of the train into. That's where Jake is on the Tua meter.
The absolute hate I get from this group right now.
All right. Anyway, we have a couple news and notes. Justice Hill, the Ravens, 3rd string running back, who we all hyped up 2 years ago. We all, as in the Reddit Dynasty community, tore his Achilles, and then Xavier Jones, who was also getting a lot of hype from the Cam Akers torn Achilles, I believe also tore his Achilles. If not, it was an ACL injury. I forget what it officially was, but
he's done for the year.
He was hot for 2 weeks, and now he's gone. That's really it for those. I don't think that really affects much. What does affect more so, though, is the Saints. Maybe an hour before we just started recording this, the Saints released Latavius Murray. They were looking for him to take a pay cut. Latavius Murray said, no thanks. They said, all right, see ya. So Latavius Murray out on the market. People are already saying he's going to be a Raven. I don't know how true that is, but that just kind of shows the fragility of Gus Edwards, because if Latavius Murray does go, his stock's going to drop a decent amount, which we've kind of been talking about before on the pod. What do you guys think?
I do think Gus Edwards is a better running back, but it's definitely going to have a big effect. And I'm trying to think, what are the other backfields besides the Ravens where Latavius Murray can have a real effect on?
Falcons.
Which one you said?
Falcons.
Dolphins is actually an interesting one.
Chiefs, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs, I think he would have would be an interesting fit for sure.
I don't think it would have an impact, but I don't think it actually would have an impact. I think it would just, you get the overreactions on Twitter a little bit.
Yeah.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire's ADP would drop a few spots, but nothing really.
That one probably small. But I do agree with Atlanta and Miami. Those two definitely also alongside Baltimore.
I mean, the Texans might just be let's get all of
the Texans.
All the running backs over the age of 30.
I hate the Texans backfield so much.
I don't
Maybe
think I want.
Pittsburgh. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised to see Latavius Murray if the Steelers needed to add a running back.
Who's the leader for RB2 in that? Is it Balaj or is it Benny Snell, McFarland?
I think the RB2 is going to be a mixture of Balaj and McFarland.
Okay.
Like Balaj seems to be that smasher kind of, we need a yard sort of a back if Najee Harris isn't ready. And I think McFarland will see more time, though, just because McFarland's a little more versatile, a little more home run hitting as well. It kind of just gives you more of an element than if you have Balaj on the field at the same time as Najee. It doesn't really make sense.
Wouldn't be surprised if a team like the Chargers, too, also went out and got the team.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
He's probably going to have a market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
no,
he's
he'll get
going to be
signed.
relevant, though. I think the only thing that Latavius Murray is going to do is ruin your day by leeching targets and carries off of someone. I think that's the upside he has.
He's going to be an annoyance. It's just like
He's going to vulture touchdowns from somebody wherever he goes, and that's how annoying he's going to be. And you're going to be like, yep, Latavius Murray had 5 carries today for a touchdown and 20 yards. Thanks.
20 yards is
Garrett
generous.
Blunt and those classic power backs are passing the torch to Latavius Murray to be the annoying veteran vulture that just ruins your day. The other thing, too, though, kind of on a similar topic with the Ravens is they're working out Le'Veon Bell and Devontae Freeman, so that could be interesting as well. Not even just Latavius Murray going there.
They're going to have someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like they're destined to add a running back. I don't know if it'll actually have a major effect on the roster, but the opportunity is there, considering obviously Dobbins went down, now Justice Hill went down. That leaves pretty much Gus Edwards as the only true running back on the roster. Obviously, Lamar is going to get his carries, so I don't know how much it's going to be fantasy relevant, but it's going to ruin people's Gus Edwards shares for sure.
The other thing that I noticed was Chris Godwin appeared on the injury report. He is playing in 2 days. This is already, I feel like, going to be an annoyance. He has a hamstring injury.
I thought it was a quad.
Is it a quad? What do you have?
I'm pretty sure it was a quad. If it was hamstring, I'd be slightly more worried about it.
What did he have last year? In addition to
last year,
he
needed
he have
hand
something
surgery.
else in addition to hand?
Concussion.
Maybe I'm just making stuff up.
It was a concussion, and he needed hand surgery.
All right, but I forgot how annoying injury reports and everything are in the middle of the week. I'm trying to plan around it. So we get to start off with a nice quick one, too, and you're already going to be debating Thursday afternoon, do I start or sit Chris Godwin based on what's going on? So something to monitor.
I think for right now, I'm probably on the side of especially also someone who has Chris Godwin. I'm not really worried at this point. Also, the Buccaneers, I don't know if you guys saw, Antonio Brown. So Chris Godwin was limited in practice. Antonio Brown was out the entire practice with a knee injury. So I think it's just a matter of they played a lot of their guys during preseason, and I just think they're kind of giving them a rest leading up to week 1.
All right. With that, I think that's all of our news and notes. So then we could get into our big part of the segment. That is the hot takes. We got hot, spicy, and scorching hot takes for you guys this week, rather than a cold, medium, hot. Because let's be honest, no one really cares that much about cold takes. I guess I could kick it off with one, and then we could kind of go around the room with a me, Lounis, Frank, Jake kind of movement, if that makes sense. So I'll just take one so far off my board, and that's Baker Mayfield finishes the season as a quarterback 1, as in top 12 quarterback. And I have a couple of reasons behind this. I'll defend my take, and then you guys, if you want to pick it apart, feel free. I'll just hate you for it, but go ahead. So Baker Mayfield in the past 3 seasons has actually been very consistent with where he finished in our scoring leagues. I'm not exactly sure if there's a consensus, but I'm just going to go off the assumption that it is. And in the past 3 years, Baker Mayfield has been quarterback 16, quarterback 18, quarterback 18. And I think what's interesting to note is in recent years, he didn't have OBJ 3 years ago, had an injured OBJ 2 years ago, and last year. I believe that sounds right. OBJ had an ankle injury like 2 years ago, then tore his ACL last year. I think that's right. Also, different coach, right? Different coach. And the Browns have started to move from a run first team to now with Kevin Stefanski. They're starting to throw the ball a lot more, which I enjoy, right? Like winning teams tend to throw the ball more early and often. That's kind of the philosophy that I agree with most amongst head coaches is throw it early and often. That's why I believe the Browns are going to do this year. And while Baker Mayfield doesn't really have the rushing potential that he does, like that other, Konami Code players have, I do think he's been very consistent in his finishes, where this year you just need to see a slight increase in his passing attempts, in his passing touchdowns, for him to be that kind of player. And let's not forget, last year he finished quarterback 18 with crazy windy games that like you just don't see before, where the ball was run like almost the entire time. He had a game without any receivers. He played a game where all his receivers were in COVID protocol. Like those 2 games alone, if you just produce, that probably gets you there already. So I think it's a hot take because I don't think many people are seeing Baker Mayfield as a quarterback 1. I think he's getting drafted around quarterback 18, 20 range. But I don't think it's as hot as, people realize because he does have that potential. I don't know if you guys have any input.
I mean, I think the Browns are still going to be a run-first team. They've proven that with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They're going to pound the rock, but I think that helps any quarterback to have a good run game behind them. I do think Baker Mayfield will have a good season, and I think your take is pretty fair. I mean, with a healthy OBJ, healthy Landry, they added a speedster and Anthony Schwartz. They still have Hooper. As long as this team stays healthy and the offensive line is mediocre, I think it's very possible.
All right.
Yeah, I think same.
Frank, do you have anything to add, or are we going to move to Lounis's take?
Mediocre. I don't know. That offensive line is insane.
I'm just saying it doesn't have to be. I don't think it has to be insane for Baker to have crazy success, just because the defense is going to have to respect Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt running the ball and the outside receivers in Landry and Odell. So I just think if the offensive line is good enough, it'll be fine, and they should be. No problem.
I mean, I guess for me, it's a hot take for a reason. I have Baker in a league. I'm not a huge Baker guy. I'd have to see it to believe it for him to be a QB1.
That was my first hot take. I'll move on before we go to my second one. Lounis, what's your hot take?
So my hot take involves 2 young guys. It's DJ Moore and Clyde Edwards-Helaire finishing top 7 at each of their positions. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, obviously, I'm assuming both guys stay healthy. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think, in my opinion, I think he's going to finish 3rd on the Chiefs in receiving yards after Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And I think last year when he was healthy, he was on an RB1 pace those first couple games before his injury and before they added Le'Veon Bell because of his injury. So I think with just him improving in the second year in that scheme, being able to, I think they're just going to use him a ton in the receiving game, like we saw Mahomes be able to do with running backs worse than him on their Super Bowl run when they beat the 49ers. So I think he's just someone with his receiving abilities, which I'm still really high on. I'm still high enough of him as a pure rusher, and that high scoring of an offense where there's going to be scoring opportunities every single week, like a bunch in the red zone. I think he's someone who has potential to break out and be a top 8 running back this season, or top 7 running back this season, and especially in half PPR and full PPR leagues. With the amount of catches and receiving yards I think he's going to get and scoring opportunities. And with DJ Moore is someone I feel like he should be going higher in a lot of startups and be valued higher. He's 24 years old and has 2 seasons with over 1,170 yards. Those 2 seasons, he finished with 4 touchdowns in each. And we were talking about in the previous episode how the Panthers would move the ball, but they just wouldn't score very often. I think of those touchdowns last year. So last year he finished with 66 catches and 1,193 yards and 4 touchdowns. If those touchdowns goes up to 8 or 9, he's finishing way above that like 18 range that he projected in. And I also think he's going to continue to progress as a receiver. Curtis Samuel's out of the offense, so they're going to be able to use him in all types of spots, was outside and in the slot. He's someone I could just see having a huge year this year. And if it's not top 7, I could say, so the hot take is top 7. I can say pretty confidently I think he finishes a wide receiver 1 this season. And that's just me being really high on DJ Moore. Your guy, JT.
All right. So to preface, I should have said this to start the hot take stuff. We couldn't pick someone that's in our home league on our team. So I couldn't come on here and say like, oh, DeAndre Swift's going to be a top 5 running back or whatnot, because I have DeAndre Swift in our league. But I think you fell into the trap of, it is a hot take for a reason, like Frank said, but I think you fell into 2 separate traps, Lounis. The first trap you fell into is the bait of picking that third Chiefs wide receiver. I didn't say
wide receiver. I don't think any of the receivers are talented enough.
I think trying to predict that and trying to predict who's going to be that third guy in terms of targets is just so hard. And I'm personally not a fan of like what CEH has done so far for the Chiefs. I wrote about him in the buy, sell, hold, evaluating 2020 RB class article on 3rd-and-20.com. Sorry, shameless plug there. I'm also finishing up the Stardom Sit-em this week for against Fabiano, taking him on again. Another shameless plug, sorry. But back to CEH. Back to CEH. I think it's a bait in terms of I just people are holding on to the fact that he's the Chiefs running back, and like what we saw was, I know he was battling injury near the end of his season, but like I just don't think he really got better when you compare him to the likes of Taylor and Dobbins and certainly Gibson. Like these guys got better as the season went on. I just didn't really see that from CH, to the point of like they brought in Le'Veon Bell. My other issue with DJ Moore, I love DJ Moore. My issue isn't even really with him. It's with Sam Darnold. I know I've said it before on this pod, but the other bait is Sam Darnold being a good quarterback. I've said it before, but Sam Darnold in his career, that's 3 seasons, has thrown less touchdowns than Aaron Rodgers did last year. So I think it's hard to predict who's going to get the touchdowns on the Panthers, and to even say that they're going to get a lot of touchdowns passing wise, especially with the likes of CMC there, who can, not only run it in, but can also catch a 2-yard swing or whatever. So I love DJ Moore, but I don't know how many touchdowns DJ Moore is actually going to get.
I just think it'll be more than 4. I know. So last season, CMC was out, and I told you his stat line. The year before that, when CMC was there for the entire year, he pretty much had a near identical stat line. Actually, around 20 more catches, 87 catches for 1,175 yards and 4 touchdowns. While I'm not the biggest Sam Darnold guy, I do think he can. I do think he can be better than Teddy Bridgewater was last year in that offense. And also, I just think DJ Moore is going to improve as a receiver. Like, he's only 24 years old. He hasn't entered his prime yet. So I think if that number gets up to around 8 or 9, I know CMC being there is going to play a factor. Obviously will, but I don't know. I just have faith in him. I just like him a lot. I think it's possible if those touchdowns go up.
Anything you guys got to add?
I like both of those players. I think that's a medium take, though, to be completely honest. Maybe because you have the and. I guess you like combine 2 medium takes into a hot take.
Yeah. It's all or nothing. I can't
Lounis is all about the parlays.
Yeah, I'm doing the parlay hot take.
All right. With that, let's swing it to Frank. Frank, give us one of your hot takes.
Nick Chubb is the RB1 overall.
That's hot.
I like it. I know why it's hot, obviously, because of guys like CMC and Dalvin Cook. But we've seen last year. Well, last year he got injured for a couple games, but every game he played last year, he went crazy with rushing. And I know
this is somewhat directed at the people on Twitter that I see saying, "Oh, well, if you draft Nick Chubb, you're an absolute scrub lord. He has no ceiling. Kareem Hunt, all this, all the Browns offense, that." Bro, I'm sorry, but Nick Chubb, to me, other than Alvin Kamara and Saquon Barkley, are the only, I guess McCaffrey too, but McCaffrey's more of a cheat code because his PPR. As a pure runner, I think the only 2 that really can touch Nick Chubb are Saquon and Alvin Kamara. I guess McCaffrey would be close there. I'll give McCaffrey a fine. Nick Chubb, though, they're finally getting him worked into the passing game a lot more than people realize. The dude is an absolute house. He gets better when the games go on and the more carries you give him. He was an RB1 last year, even while missing time. He's one of the only running backs that I see that is able to just destroy the Steelers' defense. Yeah, I think that Nick Chubb's a stud. And I think that people are really underselling his chances of being the number one running back in fantasy football this year.
I almost want to move that take up just because like CMC exists, and I struggle to see a world where CMC is never the RB1.
All right, I'll move it up then. I'll replace it. With my other one. How about that? You ready for this?
Well, we can get to the other one in a little.
No, I'm going 2 for 2. I'm going right back to it. Ready for this?
Okay.
JT, you're going to like this one.
I mean, I do like this one.
Dyami Brown, top 4 rookie wide receiver in the class. I think this is definitely more of a hot take than a spicy take, especially considering the fact that I had Dyami Brown as a top 4 wide receiver, like coming into the draft, pretty damn close. I mean, we went through a list. There's like 7 receivers that are ADP, just kind of consensus over him. You have the 4 first-round picks, Elijah Moore, Rondale Moore, and now Terrace Marshall at this point in time. Yeah, I'll take Dyami Brown. Basically, Dyami Brown is to beat out those 3 guys and one of the first-round receivers to be top 4. I don't think that's necessarily
I'll tell you which one he will. I can guarantee you which first-round rookie wide recreceiver.
Yeah, I know. Jalen Waddle's a scrub.
I thought you were about to say Bateman. He's not even playing.
No. Bateman's going to outscore Tony from the bench if Tony fumbles a kickoff.
Y'all messed up letting Tony fall to me in that startup listener league, by the way.
I'm fine.
No, I think it was destined to happen, Lounis.
Yeah, he could have fallen like 6 rounds and he would have been there for you. Let's focus on Dyami Brown. I mean, I kind of don't. Yeah, I want time in because I'm the one Brown.
We all love Dyami Brown, and we all have talked him up on this pod a whole bunch. I mean, I think that he's just so talented. We've seen what he's done, just a glimpse of it in preseason games and stuff. I mean, at this point, obviously people are going to be hyping up Curtis Samuel because they just gave him the big contract and Terry McLaurin in this Washington offense. But there's enough to go around. Fitzmagic is going to make it happen. I think he's going to just sling the ball over the field this season, and Dyami Brown's going to be the beneficiary from that.
Yeah, we're team Dyami Brown. We've seen what Sam Howell looks like now without Dyami Brown, too.
Dyami Brown
Jake,
made him.
Hear your take that won't happen.
My take that won't happen. All right. So my hot take for the season is Gerald Everett will be a tight end 1, so finish top 12 tight end. Obviously, that's not even saying much. I'll even boost it up. I'll say he'll be a top 10 overall tight end, so slightly better than just a tight end 1, but I think he's a guy that was buried in LA behind Higbee and behind those receivers in LA with Jared Goff. Now he's finally moved on to Seattle, and whoever has been playing tight end for Seattle has been productive, no matter who it was, from Jimmy Graham a while back, Jacob Hollister, and Will Dissly. They've all been semi-productive, and I think Gerald Everett is a guy that's much more talented than all those guys. He's more athletic than Jimmy Graham was at the point in time when he was in Seattle. So I think overall, he's just a guy that's poised to break out for me.
I actually like that. I've always liked Gerald Everett. He's just never gotten like the opportunity, I think. Well, I guess you can make the case he did on the Rams, but I like that. I think there's a legit chance.
The one thing like you were saying, it's also the wasteland, and you just gotta do a little bit to get out of that TE2 zone. Like just a couple more touchdowns or a couple more receptions breaks you free. So I agree. I know it's probably a hot take, especially considering where he's getting drafted, but I agree that I do think he has a shot of being a TE1 this season as well. But I also have him in our league. So
quick side comment before we go to the next one. I just figured we address on the pod because we just talked about the Ravens backfield. The Ravens signed Le'Veon Bell just now.
Oh, some more news and notes. Look at that.
So Le'Veon Bell was heading to the Ravens to join alongside Gus Edwards. I don't know if that means they're not bringing Latavius Murray. But yeah, they're signing him. It says right now he's on the practice squad, but he's expected to be added to the 53-man roster by the time the season starts.
Interesting. All right. Le'Veon Bell.
Spicy.
I wonder if they picked him because of kind of Gus Edwards isn't really a receiver. I wonder if they're picking up Le'Veon Bell to bring in for kind of passing downs to pass block and just run like shorter routes that I think he can do still right now better than Gus Edwards.
Yeah, I don't hate it. He's not someone that I feel like will be that fantasy relevant, but like we were kind of saying it earlier, like whatever running back the Ravens get, he will be an annoyance. And we saw what Le'Veon Bell did to CH. He was just an annoyance. Like he just.
That's the thing. I don't think he'll be fantasy relevant, but I think it's more just Gus Edwards owners are going to be annoyed with him certain games this year when it's like he's in on a passing play and gets like a receiving touchdown if he gets a random goal line carry. But I still think Gus Edwards is going to get more touches.
I'm less annoyed about like Le'Veon Bell if I'm a Gus Edwards owner than the likes of Todd Gurley, just because like Todd Gurley, he's there for probably one job, like just go and score touchdowns. That's basically what he had to do for the Falcons. He even scored touchdowns when he was told not to score touchdowns for the Falcons.
That was funny.
so I'm less annoyed, but it's, again, an annoyance. All right. Moving on to my second hot take, and then we'll go Frank, and then we'll move on to the spicy takes. My hot take is Jerry Jeudy does not finish top 36 wide receivers. And that's in half-point PPR scoring. And he finished as wide receiver like 45 and a half PPR scoring. So he did finish outside there this year, right? But many will point to the fact that, he was a rookie and he had a game without a quarterback. He had a game where Britt Ripien was throwing him the ball. And then for like the rest of the season, he had Drew Lock as his quarterback. And to that point, I say, yeah, that's fair. But I also say now he's got Teddy Bridgewater throwing him the ball, which is not much better.
It's an average quarterback.
And he played that whole season without Cortland Sutton, who I truly believe is the wide receiver one on the Denver Broncos. I also think the ball is going through Noah Fant. I think Jerry Jeudy's tied for the second target on the team with Noah Fant. It's Cortland Sutton, and then it's Noah Fant and Jeudy right there, 2A, 2B. And with that, it makes it really hard to be a top 36 wide receiver because you have a lack of targets. You have the lack of, an above average quarterback, which we have looked at before, and quarterbacks don't necessarily mean fantasy production. But when you're talking about Teddy Bridgewater, who I've been clowning on this podcast for a little while now, I don't see Jerry Jeudy finishing as the top 36. I think he was criminally overrated as a rookie. Now he's kind of starting to fall back down to earth, and more respectable. I think he's like wide receiver 18, 19 on keep trade cut. Let's see. 17, he's on keep trade cut. I still think that's too high for me. But I just don't see this elite actual first round talent from Jerry Jeudy. I think he's solid, just not great.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I mean, we saw. I just the Teddy Bridgewater hate is unbelievable, but like we saw him last season support 2 top 24 wide receivers. Like it's very possible that he could do that. Like
3,
but
3.
Yeah, it was 3. But
Curtis finished wide receiver 24.
I truly think 3 receivers too.
Okay, so that therefore there's 3. We've seen him support 3 receiving options, no matter what position they play. I just Judy's route running and ability is not in question here. It's just whether the offense can keep produce enough points to make his fantasy value worth it, and that I don't know because this Broncos offense could be a little rough. But I think just blaming this on Teddy Bridgewater is not fair here.
I looked it up. You have to average about 10 points per game to be a wide receiver, a top 36 wide receiver. And in a half-point PPR setting, I don't think it's there for Jeudy.
That's it. Where do you think Sutton finishes around?
Off the top of my head, I'll just say like 18.
Wide receiver 18. Okay. That's a fair number. I think Jeudy will finish top 36, definitely. I think he'll finish around the low-end wide receiver 2. But I love that you're keeping your Judy agenda and sticking with it.
I've had this flag planted for a little while.
I know that's the thing. That's why I love it. It's like I have to respect it. Like you're staying committed to it.
I had to.
If that actually happens, you'll be able to talk a lot of shit.
I had to refrain from. I had some Najee Harris stuff on here. I had to refrain from that.
Yeah.
All right. Frank, you want to wrap us all up with the hot ones because you also said your spicy one. So we'll go with Frank's second hot one.
Yeah, I have a second hot take. It's that Jamar Chase will drop more footballs in the preseason and catch them. Oh, wait, that actually happened. Oh, I can't use that.
Whoa.
This guy.
I'm
pretty sure this guy tweeted about victory laughing in preseason.
Yeah, you're right. No, I'm going to go with my second hot take. I really don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I found it interesting, and I think it's something that could happen. And that's that the Eagles will have top 24 running backs this year, basically meaning that I think that Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell will both be in the top 24. The reason being is that, A, their coaching staff, contrary to popular belief, has a ton of prior success with running backs, at least their offensive coaches, Nick Sirianni, obviously from Indy, and their offensive coordinator, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, Shane Steichen, one of the three.
Close enough.
I think I went 1 for 3 there. I'm hoping I did. So he was on the Chargers staff since like 2014. So he's been with the Melvin Gordon and the Eckler. Yeah. So like they had the tandem there, had a lot of running back success in general as his time as like the quarterback's coach and into being an interim offensive coordinator and then the offensive coordinator last year. So I think that this staff with these running backs is just going to be a lot more successful. And on top of that, this is the little gamey part about this pick is that Kenneth Gainwell is exactly what the Eagles have needed. I've said it all offseason. They needed a running back that could really do work in the passing game and they could pass block. Whether Miles Sanders can or can't anymore is aside the question. He just wasn't doing it last year. So I think that we will see a nice little two-headed monster from the Eagles. And they'll both be top 24.
Yeah, well, it should come off as surprising that the Browns last year obviously had 2 top 24 running backs in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. But this is also in PPR.
It, right?
No, I don't think so. Not last year. In PPR, the Colts had it. Yeah. The Colts had it with Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor, and the Washington football team had it with J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson. So that's 3 teams with top 24 running backs. So it's not unheard of. It's, I wouldn't say fairly common, but it definitely does happen.
I know. I think it's an extremely fair example. I think the main thing that maybe worries maybe a worry towards it is Boston Scott in the beginning of the season kind of having, while the Gainwell still learn. I'm not saying Boston Scott's going to be better than like Gainwell at his peak, but I'm saying to start the year. Because Boston Scott has kind of served that receiving back role before and done decent with it. I think that's kind of...
Lounis, you turned into a 2-pack-a-day chain smoker real quick right there.
Yeah, my throat... I'm sorry. I'm randomly just my throat just like
he got choked up when he talks about.
I
Boston
choked
Scott.
up. Yeah, Boston, my prince. But I think that's like kind of the big concern. But I do think that's how they want to eventually use them. Like kind of Sanders is the main guy, and Gainwell coming in as a receiving option. My only concern just for this first season would be like the first couple games, Boston Scott still getting some run. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case the second half of the regular season for sure. And for the whole season, we'll see. Especially, I mean, Miles Sanders missed a couple games last year. I think he missed like 4 or 5 games last year. So if he gets injured for maybe like a 3-4 game stretch, it even helps the chances even more. So I think that's possible. I like that take.
All right. I think with that, we can move on to our spicy takes, which we'll kick off with Jake this time. Jake, what was your first, or I guess your spicy take?
I really like this spicy take. I really do. But it's Antonio Brown will have a better fantasy finish this season than both Evans and Godwin. I just think his chemistry with Tom Brady is growing every practice they're together. I think Tom Brady brought him to New England, didn't work out, obviously, brought him to Tampa Bay. Tom Brady clearly wants to play with him. And all the reports out of camp, I'm not getting too tied up in the camp hype, but all the reports out of camp are saying he looks fantastic. I mean, obviously, they're not going to say he looks bad, but I just think Godwin's injury history, Evans being just the big play, red zone target, and then AB is going to get everything else. And I just really think he's going to have a great season and finish better than both of them. And it's just for his ADP right now, I think he's a steal.
I mean, you're basically just predicting AB to finish ahead of Mike Evans because Godwin is such a fraud.
Oh my God!
No. Frank has another spicy take.
Godwin is so disrespected because he played through injuries last year.
One good season.
I don't get any fantasy points for playing through injuries, Lounis.
His rookie year was pretty good for a rookie wide receiver. His second year, he had 1,300 yards, and then last year, I think he played 13 games, and he was still on a pace to finish around 1,080 yards. I think he finished with 800 something.
This tension between you two and Chris Godwin is.
He needs elite quarterbacks to have success.
Jameis and Brady.
You can make fun of Jameis all you want. Show me where he was on the statistics leaderboards for fantasy.
He was up there in interceptions. I'll give you that. He had a lot of interceptions.
Yeah, Tutty's too. And Crowder, all three.
Yeah. I'm just saying he had a pretty successful Penn State career with Christian Hackenberg slinging it. So it's not all elite.
College is very different here.
I'm going to explain. That was just my shot at Christian Hackenberg and Penn State.
An elite level talent that had a very successful NFL career. Right,
second round pick by the great front office of the New York Jets.
Oh man,
I don't necessarily disagree with Jake, but I feel like I'm talking up my own guys when I say stuff like that. So, I don't think it's nearly impossible as some others would probably say.
If Godwin does get injured for an extended period of time,
I don't even think Godwin has to get injured.
I don't even think he needs to get injured. I just think he'll be the slot guy and let AB do everything on the outside with Evans opposite him.
Other than Randy Moss, which of Tom Brady's receivers were the top guys that were playing on the outside? You just don't have it's always the inside guys that are the top fantasy guys. The Wes Welkers, the Danny Amendolas, the Julian Edelmans, those are Brady's top guys, unless the tight ends are.
Who plays slot for Tampa Bay?
Both.
Godwin.
Antonio Brown.
Godwin is the main slot guy. They do play AB there sometimes, but he's been mostly on the outside.
They both play there, and then you also got I don't know. I like almost every receiver on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, from Mike Evans all the way down to Jalen Darden. That's a full team of wide receivers I just like. The only one I'm not that thrilled about is Justin Watson. So, but whatever. He's kind of whatever. All right. Anything else you guys have to add to this?
I'm fading Fraudwin.
Godwin redemption tour. Godwin redemption tour this whole season, starting this Thursday.
Yeah,
he's a decent player. It's just, bro, he's still a top 15 receiver.
Too many mouths to
feed. It feels like.
I'm going to be excited for us to look back on this take, the Frank versus Lounis matchup. We don't really have a lot of those.
Chris Godwin's one.
I'll be excited to look back on this. All right, Lounis, hit us with one of your spicy takes.
So one of my spicy takes is David Montgomery not finishing a top 4 running back this season.
24.
Yeah, so I do think he'll finish in this hot take scenario. It's him finishing right outside, one of the better RB3s. Whenever I look at David Montgomery's game log from last season, that last 6 game stretch where he played maybe the 6 worst run defenses in football, and just gave him such a high percentage of his points, and it was when the offense was clicking in, which I don't think the offense is really going to be great this season. I'm just not a big Andy Dalton guy. I don't think their O-line is good. And Justin Fields, I am a big Justin Fields fan, but I'm not expecting him as a rookie to come in and just start lighting it up like Herbert did last year. I think you're going to see some rookie struggles, and I think he'll be good long term. But next year, it's a lot on him. And then I think the Lions aren't really tough, but I think Minnesota and Green Bay should be tough next year, where it's not like they're going to be in the lead running the ball a ton. And that's another aspect of it. But it's just between the O-line, how I think the offense is going to be this season, and just like the ridiculous stretch he had at the end of the season last year. Because before the end of the season last year, he was maybe averaging around like 11 points a game. Half PPR. I think it's just half PPR. I got to double check. But so, yeah, just the end of the season last year, he started going crazy. And I just don't think that's sustainable, where he's one of the guys where I think is kind of getting overhyped. Well, depending on the hype level. I know at the end of last season, he was getting a ton of hype.
Yeah, I don't love Montgomery, but I just he's playing with Andy Dalton, and then he's going to have a rookie quarterback. I just think you're going to want to establish the run as the Bears. So I think
their O-line isn't good either.
It's not, but it's not going to be pretty. But I just think from his production value, I think he will be a top 24. He's just going to see enough opportunities to make him a top 24.
I just find it funny that you fade David Montgomery off of half the season, yet don't fade Miles Sanders off of the fact that half of his season was carried off of about 3 runs.
Ooh.
Yeah. What up?
This is turning into the Frank versus Lounis pod.
First off, he's salty that
I'm just gonna sit back and watch.
First off, he's just salty that one of those 70-yard touchdowns was against his vaunted Pittsburgh defense. And second, I've already seen Miles Sanders in the scenario I think Montgomery's gonna be in this year with bad O-line play and a shitty offense. That was last year, and he was still, when he played, a decent fantasy running back.
See, the thing is, you're misunderstanding is that you're acting like the Bears' offense was good last year. It
was the end of the season. They started playing okay when Trubisky went back. Those last 6 weeks when Montgomery got like 80% of his points those last 6 weeks. Montgomery's like a glorified Tyler Lockett, where it's like just all the points come in 3-4 games.
No,
then Miles Sanders is the next Sammy Watkins. How about that?
Sammy Watkins.
I'm kidding. I'm just hating on Miles Sanders.
So if he is the next Sammy Watkins, Jake, you should be worried because I play you week 1, which means he's going off against you and not doing anything for the rest of the season.
Sammy Watkins week 1 is an elite wide receiver.
Yep, he's the wide receiver 1 for week 1.
For all your listeners, remember when I said we'd be drafting in during the pod? Frank's actually up on the clock right now in our 3rd and 20 league.
Sweet.
We'll get a live draft from Frank right now. But while Frank's live drafting,
should I say my other one?
I'll jump into my.
Or do you want to say yours?
Yeah. Just go. Yeah, just rattle 2 off, I guess. Yeah.
This one, I don't think it's as spicy. I think it's still like a hot take though. The amount of hype he's been getting, maybe some hot takes, some of you guys who have been hyping him up like crazy. But to me, it's I'm still viewing him for what he is, from his capital coming into the league and how he hasn't really done or proven anything yet. I had Callaway finishing over 1,000 yards as one of my hot takes. And so this is just literally a matter of opportunity and who else, just because all these other receivers are getting injured. Even Troutman got injured. Jameis is going to have to throw the ball to someone. I don't know if you believe Traquan Smith is going to come in and be a star. I'm not really buying that. So I just think this is a result of Cal. And people can have 1,000-yard seasons and it not be crazy. Corey Davis had a quiet 1,000-yard season last year, and people don't really go crazy over that. But that was just a result of opportunity with AJ Brown being here a lot, and that being a big passing offense without really a number 2 to AJ Brown, besides Corey Davis. So that's my other hot take. So congrats to anyone who has Callaway this year. I don't know if he's ever going to do it again after this season. Once the Saints are actually able to get Michael Thomas back and add some other receivers. But for this year, I'll give him that as one of my hot takes.
I don't know.
No.
You don't think he finishes with? Where do you think he finishes around?
700.
Again, this is supposed to be a hot take, so it's not
Like,
a flat out prediction.
You gotta remember, there's also one more game this year.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Well, if you're thinking 700, you're adding 300 yards in that one game.
No, I still don't think he reaches. I don't think he reaches 1,000, but I think it makes it easier to. Obviously, I don't know. I just don't like Callaway. I've never been a fan. I just don't. You're just basically projecting this because of the offense not having any targets compared to his actual talent, in my opinion. So I don't know. I don't like this one.
Both are factored in. But I mean, obviously, the offense, because the passes have to go to someone. Like, is Jameis just going to be throwing to like 8 different?
You think that, but look at the Jets last year, and the passes went to the defense. Actually,
well, I also don't think the Saints' offense will be as bad as the Jets was last year.
Passes went to the ground usually.
I thought we were just talking about Jameis, the elite quarterback. How dare you talk about Jameis?
Listen, bro, I'm not saying that Jameis is going to be bad. I'm saying that Callaway is going to be bad.
Okay.
I think this is just overhyped.
I don't know what to do with Callaway. I'm not going to target him. I'm not going to fade him at the same time because I actually do kind of believe the hype. I think that Callaway, here's a spicy take. Callaway finishes above Godwin. There you go.
Oh my
Lounis.
God.
No, I like that.
Because let me put it like this: if he breaks 1,000 yards, he'll finish above Godwin.
Godwin's also breaking 1,000 yards.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Loon. I wouldn't be so confident in Godwin breaking 1,000 yards.
He nearly did it last year while missing games.
Yeah, guess what? He's going to miss more games. Fraud.
Now,
well, I mean, if Godwin gets hurt for like half the season, I can't do anything about it.
A full season of Antonio Brown there, a full off season of Gronkowski not being retired, OJ Howard being back, OJ Howard being healthy. There's so many mouths to feed in this offense. Just throwing that out there with 3 running backs that are going to play.
I'm not worried about Leonard Fournette worrying about Chris Godwin. I'm just kidding. But I don't know. I just like him. But we'll see this season. We'll see. I'll be talking. I'll be here all year about Chris Godwin. And now JT, you're spicy.
I love this Godwin hate, by the way. It's so funny, Frank.
I'm happy that none of you are on my side, so that when I come in, it's not like 2v2. Oh, JT's kind of.
I don't know if I'm not on your side. The issue with, I didn't really chime in on this one yet. I had Callaway in our league, and I thought the hype was getting crazy, right? Because there are people that were trading him for. Yeah, there are people trading him for late firsts, 2 seconds. I thought that was crazy. I think, the perfect way of Dynasty is to trade Marquez Callaway. I traded him for a second in our league. I think that's probably what you should look for. I mean, if you can get more, I do that. Because it's just not worth the risk for me. Like, how many undrafted free agents come out and actually do perform? Even if they do, like we saw with Travis Fulgham. Travis Fulgham went from being, people were giving up crazy stuff for Travis Fulgham mid-season last year. Now he's cut this year. Like, it's so unpredictable with that stuff that I'm just give me a second. I'd rather re-roll my chances on a second. From waivers to a second, give me that. In terms of actually happening, 1,000 yards. Michael Thomas is coming back at some point. I just don't know. There's also you do have a lot of Jags there that could also be taking time away from Marquez Callaway and Deontay Harris and Traquan Smith. Adam Chapman will be healthy at some point. Alvin Kamara is always going to get his receptions too. There's a lot that has to go his way. I don't necessarily think it's that absurd though. Because, he's going to build a rapport with Jameis. He's going to have that chemistry. It might carry him through the 17-game season. I'm on the fence on this one. I'm not willing to commit to either side. The Godwin part's where you get me, though. even though I don't necessarily love Godwin, I just think he's definitely finishing better than Callaway. All right. Moving on from Frank and Fraudman.
15 right now. Yuck.
Who is this?
Godwin.
Huh? Well,
yeah, Lounis was probably the type of dude that was drafted him when he was wide receiver 2.
I had him on my team before he was wide receiver 2. And I was always high on. I'm just gonna be talking shit all year about Godwin when he's balling out again this year. Y'all will see it.
Balling out again?
He just balling out again. He just finished wide receiver 2 the last fully.
This is turning into a Godwin pod.
I'll just be back.
Right, we'll get our first glimpse in 2 days from when we're recording this. We'll get our first glimpse of what's going on with Godwin in 2 days. All right.
You're going to victory lap Godwin for being like an average wide receiver too. And you're going to be like, I told you so. He finished above Marquez Callaway. Like he's
I'm not going to victory lap him finishing above Callaway. I promise you I will not.
Where do you expect him to finish? What position is it Godwin? No, Lounis. Well, we could go to you next, but
no, you got to take over under wide receiver 15 or you're a fraud.
I'll take over wide receiver 15.
It's getting thrown around at this pod.
I think 15 is like a fair thing, though. That's why
he going up or is he going down from 15? Are you
are you saying how he's going to be like ranked as a dynasty receiver, or what's he finishing as this season?
Both. Do both. I think both are going down.
I think
this guy.
That's a good question.
I mean, if you're so
think it's going down.
So on Godwin that
I don't think because those are two separate. He's not going to be lower than 15 after this year in the dynasty wide receiver rank. I probably have him around 12.
That he is playing with such good offenses and great quarterbacks every year. That is what has carried him.
You keep doing this thing where you put Jameis Winston in the same category as Tom Brady, and I just don't know if you know what you're saying or what's going on here.
Jameis is awesome. I love Jameis. Jameis was easily like you can call me all you want. Jameis as a fantasy quarterback was exactly what you wanted when he played. The dude was just chucking down. He made Rashad Perryman a league-winning wide receiver at the end of the year.
Sure, I would have wanted 20 less picks and 10 less fumbles if I had Jameis, but yeah.
I'm not saying he's an actually good quarterback. It's just, okay, you get a pick 6, and then all of a sudden you get an 80-yard touchdown. Give me the difference.
I guess. It's definitely better than Drew Lock. Sorry, Jake. Moving on.
Why?
Drew Lock have to do it.
I had to hate on Teddy B earlier. Now I got to hate on Drew Lock. All right. My spicy take is Austin Eckler outscores Derrick Henry this year in half PPR scoring. I mean, PPR, I feel like this is not as spicy just because Austin Eckler is going to get way more receptions than Derrick Henry. Half PPR, I feel like it's much spicier. There's two kind of components to this. It's like multifaceted, right? On the one hand, you have Derrick Henry, the negative side, where he's led the league in rushing for 2 years. He's had he only had almost 400 carries last year. And the year before he had 315, I think it was. And the year before that, even though I think he was hurt for a couple games, he still also had 200 something carries, right? So it's a lot of carries on Derrick Henry, and we're heading into a 17-game season where who knows how coaches are going to manage their quarterbacks and whatnot, and who knows running backs, and who knows how running backs are going to stay healthy. So there's concern there. But I also really like Austin Eckler this year. I know Lounis talked about how CEH was going to be the third targeted player on the Chiefs. I think Eckler is going to be the second targeted guy on the Chargers. You're going to have Keenan Allen, and then you're going to have Austin Eckler. In the games where Austin Eckler came back and Justin Herbert was firing on full cylinders, which was weeks 12 to 17 of the season, you had Eckler coming back to 16 targets, 9, 9, 4, 3, and 7. So I don't know what that adds up to. I can't do quick math like that. I'm just going to say somewhere around 50 targets in his last 5 games. Someone fact check me on that.
I think it was 32, 9, 9, 4,
it's more than
7,
that.
3, 18.
Right. Pause with us for real quick.
25, 32.
25, 34, 38, 41, 48. I was close. 48. I was close. That's 48. 48 targets in his last 6 games. So he could legitimately have 100 targets next year pretty easily if he's healthy and 17-game season, he could pretty easily have 100 targets, which puts him up there. I don't know what exactly how many other running backs had. I could look it up real quick, but that's putting you up pretty high. And I forget who
that's
did
like
the math on
level
it.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, I forget. I wish I could give credit to someone. I don't know who did the study, but people found that running back targets are worth like nearly 3 times as much as running back rushing attempts in terms of fantasy value and fantasy output. Yeah,
I can see that.
So for Austin Eckler to get around 100 targets, which I don't think is that absurd, especially considering it's really just Keenan Allen and I guess Mike Williams, who we all don't love. Yeah, Kamara had 83 receptions last year. It doesn't say targets, which is kind of upsetting. I don't want to really do the math on that. But Kamara had 83 receptions last year. So we're nearing Kamara-like numbers if he gets that much. 107 targets. So yeah, that puts him up there. So it's kind of a both. I don't hate Derrick Henry, but you gotta bank on him still being durable and still he is kind of superhuman, but it's a big risk. And then Austin Eckler, I just really like. So that's where I'm coming from on this.
I actually really agree and like this take. And
I feel like this isn't a spicy take though. No offense or anything, Jay. Maybe because it's half PPR.
Half PPR. I think it's spicy. You know, Derrick Henry's
getting drafted
for like
12 running backs behind.
Carries.
Is he? I thought it was closer.
Yeah, he's projected. Derrick Henry is like 4 and Eckler is like 16 or something. As far as projections go, at least. Let me look on sleeper projections.
Yeah, I was hating on Austin Eckler in the beginning of the year, but I've started to grow fond of him.
6 and 16, I'm sorry. So
yeah, that's
10 running back difference right now in projections.
I just think that Austin Eckler is such a better redraft back than he is dynasty back right now.
Yep.
I still like him for both. I do think he's better in redraft, but I still like him for both.
I felt like Eckler was always a great value until this year. Because before this season, it always felt like Austin Eckler, like this offseason even, Austin Eckler was always like more on the Myles Gaskin side of running backs than the true elite tier of running backs. Whereas now, because people are really looking into the numbers and whatnot, they've realized, okay, Austin Eckler is, I mean, when he plays and plays well, he's like a mini cheat code. And now he's all of a sudden crept closer towards the elite running back price tag than the non-elite running back price tag in Dynasty Leagues. This is what it feels like, at least from the outside. I don't know if that's necessarily true across leagues, but that's what I don't like about Austin Eckler.
I think it's fair.
Yeah. You guys have anything else to add?
I do want to add, we should clip that part that JT was talking about with the targets, with running back targets compared to carries and like getting a lot of receptions helping their fantasy chances, and just add that to my Clyde Edwards-Helaire argument from earlier. Just clip JT's part and add it to my section earlier.
Again, you're falling for the bait that CH is in the same tier.
You made my argument for me. I appreciate it.
All right, it's enough. All right, this is a take that I really like. We're moving on into our scorching takes, and Frank's coming in hot. I like it because we're also mixing in the Devi into it, which we don't dip our toes too much into it, but we just really rate the classes when they get here. But Frank does a lot of film grinding and whatnot. And Frank, what's your scorching hot take?
All right, so this was one of my favorite quarterbacks coming into the college football season. There was kind of like 2 dudes that I really, really liked, and one of them was Carson Strong, the Nevada quarterback. We saw him just play this past week, and he just absolutely tore it up. So he was already one of my top 3 quarterbacks coming into the year. I am going to plant the flag as a scorching take that he will be the number 1 overall pick in Superflex rookie drafts next year. It's a little bit out there. I mean, not necessarily to take like just kind of the frame period of time and like what can happen between now and the draft and whatnot, but I truly think that Carson Strong is a first-round pick, and fuck it, we're all in. He's the number 1 dude.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done enough breaking down of these like college quarterbacks to really speak intelligently on it, but there's been a lot of panic from last week watching Sam Howell and Rattler play where
Yeah.
they didn't look that good. JT Daniels looked fine, I guess. He was playing Clemson and had injured wide, like he didn't really have much offense around him. So I'll give him a pass. There is a world where I guess what do you say?
I was gonna say he's not this draft class, but Bryce Young. Oof.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
he's.
I just think that was Miami
Carson
being terrible.
Strong, like, to me,
they're top 15.
Dude, like Carson Strong is one of those dudes, and I did get this feeling with Mac Jones when I was just randomly scrolling crap on YouTube, and I saw a little quarterback camp from some of the quarterback prospects that were drafted last year, when they were like first coming in from high school, and like you just watch some of them throw. Like Carson Strong, you watch him throw on the field, you watch him throw in shorts, no matter what. Like dude's got a beautiful ball. But at the same time, he backs it up when you watch him play. He does make good decisions. Obviously, he's a college dude, and he makes some really head scratchers here and there. But I think he's a good player. This is going to be funny, right? Listen to this. My comp for him right now is actually Josh Rosen, like his play style. And the thing is, this is one of the I'm going to get into a side tangent here because this is one of my qualms with the fantasy football community. Is that, God forbid, I use a high first-round pick that just didn't happen to pan out as an example for someone's play style, and you're like, you're calling him a bust? What are you doing? You're an idiot. You don't watch any of the games. It's like, bro, chill out. I'm not saying that he's going to be a bust or anything. I'm just saying when I watch Carson Strong and I watch Josh Rosen, I think that they have a very similar skill set and do a lot of the same things well. Like, that's kind of what sells you on them as prospects. But
I think the way to word it so that they don't get mad would maybe be like Carson Strong is going to be what Josh Rosen was supposed to be.
Yeah, that's probably the way that you word
it. With their similar play styles. But I like that take. I'm interested in watching him. I'm excited to see who I tweeted about like the main top breakout QBs this year, like we saw last year. We've seen in previous years, so like Burrow, Kyler, Baker.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see who it is this year, besides already hyped up guys like Howell and Rattler.
The problem with Strong is that he doesn't offer any rushing threat at all. He's the opposite of mobile. He's a statue to a certain extent.
Yeah, so Mac Jones was the same thing. Mac Jones was the first round pick.
Yeah.
For draft and Dynasty.
So it's going to be, I just think that Carson Strong, he stretches the field really well. And just real quick to touch on those other quarterbacks that didn't play well, I think that we're overreacting to Spencer Rattler, but the Sam Howell and JT Daniels hate is correct, mainly because I like Spencer Rattler and was not high on those other two quarterbacks. So I'm always right.
Confirming those priors.
We're confirming priors at it.
All right. With that, let's jump to Jake. Jake, what's your scorching hot take?
My scorching hot take is that Jared Goff will be a quarterback one this season, a top 12
that is
fantasy. It fits.
I hope you have your fire extinguisher.
It fits the category, but hear me out here. Jared Goff in 2018 was QB6, was all the rage in Dynasty as, a third-year quarterback, top 6. Obviously, he's fallen off from then, finishing quarterback 13 in 2019 and quarterback 20 last year. People have kind of kicked him to the curb following the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff swap here, and him going to Detroit. Obviously, the Detroit offense is not as flashy as LA's offense, nor will it be as good. I'm not making that argument here, but they're going to be losing a lot of games here, and he's going to have to be throwing the ball. On top of that, the Detroit offensive line is significantly better than the Rams offensive line here, and he will have much more time to throw. Who he's throwing to, I don't know. It'll probably be Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift. But I just think the point I have here is that in 2019, when he was quarterback 13, just barely missing quarterback 1 territory, he scored 253 fantasy points. Last year, he scored 245, so an 8-point difference dropped him 7 spots. I think that can easily be made up, plus a little bit, and he'll be right there in the quarterback 1 territory. Obviously, this is a scorching hot take. I But that's why I made the prediction here.
What I will say, obviously, this is scorching hot. Scorching hot takes are supposed to be unlikely to happen. But I will say one thing to add to your argument also. Detroit's probably going to be playing from behind in a lot of games this year.
Yeah, that's what I said. They're going to be losing a lot of games, and he's going to be throwing the ball.
You're just assuming he's going to be the new stat Padford, where come the end of games, he's just going to come in there and start leading comebacks.
He's not. But he's going to put up some numbers. And listen, Hawkinson and Swift and one of Terrell Williams or Cephas or Amon-Ra.
Trying to sell people on the Lions' weapons is not going to help your argument here. You just got to say that Jared Goff is going to carry.
It's gonna be like, remember, like, what was it? It was like Blake Bortles and Allen Robinson a few years ago, where like so many of their points came in garbage time. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was like a ridiculously high percentage of their points came in like garbage time.
Difference there with Blake Bortles is though Blake Bortles could actually he'd sneaky run for like 40 yards a game, and that got you like a lot of points.
That's true.
I just don't see that with Jared Goff. I also think I don't hate the Detroit Lions line, but like I think they're starting to get a little overrated. We haven't really seen Penei Sewell like show what he was drafted for yet, and we're kind of trusting him to. I think he switched positions too, right? Didn't they move him to the other side of the line? So
yeah.
There's going to be a learning curve. We're going to have to really. There's going to have to be a lot of things to go right, but that's why it's scorching.
Anything's better than the Rams' offensive line last season. That offensive line, Lounis could have got a sack.
Yeah, after Whitworth went down.
Yeah, after Whitworth. Yeah, which was most of the season.
All right, I'll just move on to mine because I also have separate quarterback.
We all have QBs.
Oh,
scorching. Scorching takes.
I think we'd be. I mean, I feel like mine's very scorching too, like Jake's, but it's kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum where I'm saying Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be a top 12 quarterback this season, and that's because he's retiring to go play Jeopardy. But actually. I think the issue is we talked about, like, I don't know, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago on this podcast where the Packers were nearly a top 5 all-time team in terms of touchdowns. And I just think that the touchdown regression is going to be very real for the Packers. I think you're looking at a team where Aaron Rodgers, like, threw, I think it was 50 touchdowns, or maybe he passed for enough and then ran for a couple where it came out to be 50 touchdowns. Number. Yeah. And he still didn't finish as quarterback 1. He finished as quarterback 2, I believe. So with that being said, I get that you have to take a big drop if you're going to go all the way down outside the top 12, right? But again, his weapons didn't really get much better. We're talking like Amari Rodgers is there. You kind of need Alan Lazard to improve, which I'm not buying in on. Marquez Valdes-Scantling would need to improve, not really buying in on. So we're talking about Devontae Adams and we're talking about Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, right? I think A.J. Dillon is going to see an uptick in work where he's taking us on some of those goal line touchdowns, the kind of vulture role. That's going to be annoying. I think Devontae Adams is not going to be nearly as productive this year. I think he's still going to be pretty good. Borderline wide receiver 1 worthy, or wide receiver 1 overall worthy. But I just think we're going to see a team that's going to drastically regress, not because they're bad, but because they almost set records last year. And so you have all of these young quarterbacks that can run too. You're not going to see that from 37-year-old Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to see a lot of running. There's just a lot of things that are going against him that I don't think people are really recognizing, to the point of I don't think it's, impossible that he's not a top 12 quarterback, even though he was quarterback 2 last year.
I do think there'll be touchdown regression because, like you said, they did a ridiculous pace last year, but not top 12 is, but I mean, again, these are all just scorching hot takes. And
how many times are you going to say it, Lounis?
Maybe one more time when I say mine.
Well, I gotta make space for Jared Goff in the top 12, and so who am I kicking out?
And Baker.
Yeah, and Baker. So I'm kicking out Aaron Rodgers.
Jared Goff and Baker are playing Rodgers. I love it. Does anyone else have anything to say on the A. Rodgers one? Otherwise, I can get to mine.
I mean, it's a scorching hot take. Like these aren't likely to happen.
All right, you know what? You can go fuck yourself. Go ahead, Dick.
YouTube's about censored links.
Yeah, I'll go fuck myself when Chris Godwin's a top 10 receiver again. Thanks.
All right, I hope you fucked yourself good like 2 years ago. Just like censor all of this past 30 seconds.
We can just fast forward through this.
Yeah. So my last hot take is kind of similar to JT's in terms of an elite quarterback not being QB1 this year.
Clown take, dude. Clowness is back.
So Aaron Rodgers is all good, but God forbid Russell Wilson.
Is it Kyler Murray's better than Patrick Mahomes?
Listen, I didn't say better fantasy. It's gonna happen. The prophecy will come true one day.
Prophecy. Where did you hear this prophecy?
It was written to me from a higher power. But so this has not happened in Russell Wilson's entire career. In Russell Wilson's 9 years in the NFL, he's never finished below QB 11.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's going to change now.
Next year, this is definitely gonna be sounding like, remember like that like thing that always got like memed, like when Max Kellerman was talking about like the cliff for Tom Brady is this season. Yeah. And then Tom Brady won like 3 more Super Bowls. This is gonna be me with Russell Wilson right now. The cliff is here. And it happened. It started what? Week 10 last season. From week 10 last season to week 17, he finished above 20 points 2 times. 2. We saw the offensive struggles continue in the playoff game. And I think this year the Seahawks are gonna kind of go back to running the ball a lot more. I think you're gonna see a lot more ground and pound in their offense. I think they saw that their heavy pass offense was working really well at the start of the season, but towards the second half of the season, it cooled up. And like I said, like the second half of the season, he put up 9, 20, 14, 15, 22, 12, 19, 18.
Still good enough to get me that chip, though.
Oh, I mean, go on the chip. You also had Lamar Jackson, and Dalvin Cook, and Travis Kelce, and DeAndre Hopkins, and Stephon Diggs. But fuck those guys.
That one was for Baby Future and Sierra.
Oh, Baby Future and Sierra. But so that's my scorching hot take. I think that downward trend. Even though we wouldn't be in the top 12 in this, I would have him probably in that 13 to 16 range, right outside. But I think that trend continues where he's averaging like 18 to 19 points per game, or like 17 to 19 points per game. And he just misses out with some new guys coming in, like Herbert is going to be in that top 12. Dak will be fully healthy again. So that's my score.
You realize, dude, if he averages 19 points a game, like he's still easily a QB1.
The QB scoring is
99% elite.
QB scoring sometimes by the year is weird. Like in 2019, he finished QB3 with 328, and then last year he finished QB6 with 360.
Yeah, because last year you had the COVID defenses in the first half of the year sucking asshole, so they couldn't stop a nosebleed. You had like 3 historically bad defenses. And then the Raiders were the one team that's like, our defense is not going to marginally get better as the year goes on. We're going to get a lot worse. Yeah, Lounis, riddle me this, Riddler. Who's the one quarterback in the league who's thrown over 30 passing touchdowns the past 3 years?
I'm going to guess.
With that, we're going to end the episode, probably. You can go look that one up in your stat sheets.
How do I get clowned for Russell Wilson? But JT doing Aaron Rodgers. It's like, he's Aaron Rodgers' butt.
I'm a cool guy.
Because Aaron Rodgers doesn't have Russell Wilson's weapons, nor is Russell Wilson 40 or 38, whatever Rodgers is.
It's just Russell Wilson
can also run,
dude. Like Aaron Rodgers, like okay, Aaron Rodgers not being a QB1, like it's just scorching hot take. But am I going to be surprised if he finishes in the back half of QB1s? No. Like, Russell Wilson, as long as he's healthy, I think his minimum floor is like QB9. And that would take a pretty drastic reduction. I don't care how many more times he hands the ball off. Like, I don't. When you get in close games and you're the Seahawks, you're not giving the ball to Chris Carson.
You're giving it to Rashard Penny.
Yeah, you're giving it to Rashad Penny.
I mean, they didn't give it to Marshawn Lynch either in that Super Bowl, but
Sick burn, go Patriots.
On that note, I think that brings us to the end.
20 season 2, episode 5 in the books. Next time you're hearing this podcast, we're going to be reacting to week 1. We'll all have one. Oh yeah, we might be on stream.
Keep a lookout
for us
for
on
it.
Twitch potentially.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some quick. We'll do some. If anyone's listening through this, thank you. But we'll do some quick cleanup stuff here. Frank's been working really hard all offseason, updating the website, updating all this other database, whatnot. Frank's been doing it all. He's not only a front man, but also the behind the scenes guy. Yes, Frank.
Yeah, rankings coming. Was that what you were going to say?
Yeah, I was getting to
coming up on the site pretty soon.
Rankings will be up on the site. I'm doing the stardom sit-em. That should be up either tomorrow or Wednesday. I'll have them done tonight as we're recording this podcast. I'm taking down Fabiano this year.
Fuck you, Fabiano.
Yeah,
We got him.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, Fabiano, we're coming for you.
We got him.
We'll be reacting to week 1. Wish you guys all luck in your leagues, all your 200,000 dynasty leagues and whatnot. The only person I'm not wishing luck on is Jake because he's a cheater.
And Lounis, apparently.
And
Lounis.
All right.
Ironically, this is like the episode I argued the least with JT. And just went to Frank instead.
Well, Kadarius Toney sucks. So I'll sign off with that. Season 2, episode 5 in the books. Thank you, everyone.